Hello and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm very excited today to introduce a special segment called Building Bharat, where we interview individuals and organizations who are working for the country, making lives better, and thereby serving as a role model for the rest of us. On the show today, I'm really happy to have Colonel Parikshit Mehra, who is the director of the Atal Tunnel Project, the highest tunnel project of 10,000 feet in the world, which was built to connect Manali with Lahaul Spiti, and which is a strategically important road for the country as well. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Before I ask you about the Atal Tunnel project, which is something we're all eager to know about, especially from somebody who's worked so closely with every detail of the project, I want to ask you about why you wanted to be in the army, why you wanted to be an engineer in the BRO, and what is the path that you took for it?
I'm an engineer by education, so I've done my engineering before I joined the army. I joined the army primarily because my father was in the army and it runs in the family. And then, since I was a civil engineer, I got this opportunity to work with border roads organization also, because army officers do get posted to border roads projects. I've been with BRO for long. My first posting with border roads organization was in North Sikkim, where we were doing roads in the North Sikkim area. Subsequently, I came back to my regiment, went again to border roads organization in Bhutan. So, they've been great enough to offer me to stay in that country for 2 years again on the roads that we were doing for Bhutan. Our external affairs monitors those projects, and I was there for 2 years with them. And then I got this opportunity to do a master's in tunneling at the IIT in Delhi. And because at that time, border roads organization, the army started taking up of tunneling and underground works. So I came to Delhi, did my master's there, and since the Atal Tunnel was ongoing that time, I was after my master's in 2015, I was posted to the tunnel project, and that's how now since 2015, I have been connected with the Atal Tunnel project, and I've been with this project for 5 years. I've seen it from one of the slowest or the worst times to the time when it was inaugurated. So fortunate for me, and thanks to the organization to give me that kind of exposure.
Right, sir. So BRO recently, its work is being celebrated. Recently, 44 bridges in 7 states and union territories was inaugurated. The Atal Tunnel project was completed. But of course, we see the celebration, but behind it is years of hard work and toil. Can you share with us some specific challenges that you experienced while working on the project?
See, the Atal Tunnel project when I joined in 2015, we were stuck in the middle of this shear zone called the Serinala fault zone. A lot has been written about it. But what I can tell you is that 587 meters took us 4.5 years. And the rest part of the tunnel, so about 8.5 kilometers, also took us 4.5 years of expedition. So that was a major challenge. But what I can tell you is that this particular Serinala shear zone is the longest shear zone crossed by any highway tunnel in the world. And the Atal Tunnel per se is a very big cross section, because we have the escape tube built into the main tube. So it becomes a very huge cross section, and then 587 meters of very poor ground. The fact that we have crossed it today means that we in India can take on tunneling in any conditions in the Himalayas. So that was a major challenge. Apart from this particular challenge, we had many other challenges because of the way the tunnel is situated. This is the longest tunnel at an altitude of 10,000 feet. So when you're at 10,000 feet, obviously you have snow on both ends. The North Portal, which was across the Rohtang Pass, was available to us only for about 5 to 6 months in a year. And we worked from that portal only for 6 months, which meant that effectively we only had 1.5 phases to work with, south and 6 months of north. And since this tunnel runs in the tube, we had no added with horizontal tunnels or vertical shafts. We had no more access points, which made the process extremely challenging in the way that we could not build in more resources to accelerate the work. And it's taken us 10 years, but I can tell you in those 10 years we've had months 300 odd meters of tunneling, which is a record in itself. So even with these situations to have completed it in 10 years, I think is an excellent job done by the border of the organization. And it's just basically because of the character that the men now have. I have to say the contractors with us, Strawberry and Austrian firm, our own Indian firm, have also done an excellent job.
Right,
So
right,
they
sir,
were
absolutely. Mhm.
so thick and thin on this.
Any personal hardships did you encounter during the construction of the bridge?
See, what happens with projects like these is that it needs you to get involved, and which means that most of us, not only me, most of us ended up being home probably for what 15 or 20 days in a year. This time around, I have come back from leave after I believe 7 odd months. You know, and the environment has to be such that you really don't even get time to to call back home at time. So yes, that way it is there. Then obviously we were taking the risk to go to the site through avalanches, through very bad roads that time because the road infrastructure or avalanche protection structures have now come in. As the tunnel is constructed. But during the construction, there was always this risk where we would have our rescue teams deployed all along onto the approach of the tunnel. And we had some of our vehicles get buried into avalanches, and our rescue teams have had to rescue people. So yes, those risks also all of us took together.
What's a typical day on an assignment like?
See, a typical day on the assignment, it's very difficult to define a typical day because what happens is sometimes in the tunnel, when you're working in the tunnel, you get surprised. You get surprised by the geology. Maybe in our excavation phase, we should would be taking 3 blasts in a day, and we would be monitoring every minute and every activity so that we could take those 3 blasts. So we had an 8-hour cycle happening from blast to blast, and sometimes when you would take a blast, a wedge would come down, and if that comes at 2 in the night, one would be expected to be there to analyze it, to see how the geology would be ahead. You
Right.
know, that is an untypical day. But on a typical day would be, we would be working in 2 to 3 shifts, where the morning shift would start somewhere around 7 in the morning. Be there at till 3 in the afternoon. We would try and make the shift blast to blast so that everybody is working that way. And once we had connected it to once in October, after that we actually opened up all the activities in the tunnel. So a typical day would mean that you start from one end, almost sometimes walk the complete 9 kilometers to see how the activities are progressing because the traffic situation in the tunnel would be such that you won't even want to take your own vehicle to go across. You would construction traffic to move as smoothly as possible. So we would dissuade our own people, our own supervisors to take too many vehicles inside and sometimes sit in one of those concrete trucks and go inside and see everything. So a typical day
Right.
of school would be, starting from one end, seeing all these activities of blasting, of, doing the benching, the inverts, the concreting. Probably at some place we were doing waterproofing work and, the other ancillary electromechanical works which came in. So lots happening. Too technical, I believe. It's
No,
short,
but interesting. Hmm.
but a typical day would be making 3 to 4 such rounds of the tunnel to ensure that all the activities of the plan are happening and we met the deadlines that we set for ourselves.
Right, sir. So next you're going to be posted in Arunachal Pradesh. So what do you do when you get a new assignment? Do you prepare for it? What do you do?
To be very honest, we do. Though I'm home right now, but what I'll end up doing is probably ask for a map right now and just get myself oriented to the place. I haven't been to Arunachal, so I'm not very familiar. Uh, but we generally do get oriented. Then we also what we tend to do is we tend to ask for some details of the projects which are happening, of the things which are going on, of the task at hand, so that before I go there and the person that I would really have 4 days to hand over his assignment to me, you know, so that I am so to say in the grid to understand as to what he's trying to tell me in the 4 days. But you always learn with hands-on experience. So I will go there, give myself a month to get oriented to everything on the ground, and then take it on from there.
Great. So building strategically important roads, that's a huge responsibility. So do you ever feel the pressure?
We do feel the pressure, yes. But to be very honest, the way these things are now being planned by our headquarter, the Border Roads Organization, the headquarter in Delhi, especially with the new DG or General Harpal being there, the DG being there, and the way that the Ministry of Defense has their vision about it, it becomes easy for us in the sense that we are given tangible targets to achieve. We are given the right resources, and yes, then the pressure is on us to deliver with those resources.
Yeah.
But
Right.
thankfully, in the last 3 to 4 years, what has happened is the organization, a lot of planning has gone in, the right resources have been pumped in, and we have finite targets for everybody on the ground. So the vision is, with the vision being clear, I think execution is much easier. But yes, the pressure to execution will always be there, where we have targets to meet and we have timelines to meet. And I
Right.
think the organization is beautiful. Our men, our drivers, operators, our junior engineers, the people on the ground, even the labor, the casually paid labor which is working with border roads across on the borders are excellent. You know the job well, you guide them well, and they'll do wonders for you. Is what I feel.
So another question, the minute the last stage of the Atal Tunnel project before the inauguration, and you had COVID-19. So how did you work through it, and how are you going to work on future projects, keeping the pandemic, the pandemic there? So how are you going to do it?
At one time, we had 1,100 people on the site in the
Hmm.
pandemic, and that is challenging. But
Hmm.
thankfully, we also have doctors posted with us. We have medical staff posted with us. This set up very good module for us. We ensured that the teams working on the sites are small teams and they operate together so that we could have that kind of a seclusion between teams which are working on various fronts. We would not mix them around so that in case we would have something, you know, uh, our complete team would not get affected. Thankfully, Himachal was very, very clean. And what we
Right.
did, we ensured that after a certain time, we did not let any new people get inducted onto the site. So we
Hmm.
with the same team, we worked extra hours, we motivated these guys delivered, and thankfully in that Solang Valley there we were safe, and
Hmm.
God was with us, so nothing happened, and
Right.
but all thanks to our doctors, our nursing assistants, and also our site level managers who ensured these drills. So we had surveys going on every day. We would take temperatures every day. We would do random testing also, and we
Hmm.
ensured that people who came from outside, one or special technician, would do his work in an isolated position and leave out without contact. So that helped.
Right.
It was difficult to manage this with 1100 people, but was been kind.
Right. So you must have seen much of India during your postings with BRO and otherwise. So what's your most memorable experience that would illustrate the unity and diversity of our country?
You know what? I have been in the mountains for very long, and I've been in Ladakh, I've been in Siachen with my regiment, I've been with Sikkim, I've been in Bhutan, I've done 2 tenures at Himachal Pradesh. As I said, I've been here twice on this project already. You know, uh, the one thing that really probably touched me was the fact that when on these projects you have people from across, from all the states. Engineers come from everywhere. They come from Himachal, they come from somewhere in the south. You have people from Gujarat, you have people from Punjab. They all come together. But when the mission is defined, they're very, very clear. The loyalty is for the mission, and I think that is what defines India in the end because we are working towards a direction, a specific direction, and all our engineers today, I'm sure, are aligned to seeing a developed country in the near future. So that was something for me as an engineer. But otherwise, even in the army, with our men, I've never felt the difference. If I was working with a Sardar or if I was working with the Tambi of my regiment, I never felt the difference. We are all the
True.
same. We are all the same.
It's great to hear from you, sir. And it was a great conversation. I enjoyed it very much. It was, although I know how hard it must be working for the BRO and forward areas, hearing it from you, from someone who's experienced it firsthand, was more eye-opening and really very inspiring also. So I wish you the very best for your future, sir. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for being with us today.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.